contrary to popular opinion, there is nothing wrong with that assumption. It was the proverbial dark and stormy night. They were exhausted. And most important of all, in all their years of fishing, they had never seen anybody walk on water before. You? No. So, what else to think of the figure that is coming toward them across the briny deep, except that it is a ghost? Until Jesus reassures them. At which point, Peter does the marine equivalent of throwing away an airplane door. For some reason, he wants to get out of a perfectly good boat and come to Jesus. He can't wait for Jesus to get to him. He wants to go to Jesus. And all Jesus says is, come on. And Peter does. He gets out of the boat and tries to come to Jesus. At which point he has what might be called the ultimate come to Jesus moment. And he begins to sink. Peter's growing awareness of the winds and the waves reminds me of that wonderful Warner Brothers cartoon series of the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, where the coyote chases the Roadrunner off the cliff, remember? The Roadrunner always makes it across the gap, but every time the coyote, halfway across, becomes aware that there is nothing beneath his feet, and so he stops cold and plummets to the ground in a puff of smoke. And here is where everybody I have read on the subject completely ruins the scene by wanting to clean everything up and make pandemonium into tranquility. Make no mistake about this. Peter is drowning. Unaided, he is going to die. So when he yells, "Lord, save me," it's not just with a cry, but with a scream of panic that is reserved for somebody who is in mortal peril. A second thing that everybody seems to want is for Jesus to be completely unaffected by the wind and the waves. They want a drip-dry Savior. But here's what I know from my more risk-taking days as a lifeguard. If someone is drowning and you want to save them, you're going to have to get wet. You're going to have to dive in after them and somehow, some way, use every skill and ounce of strength that you have to get them back to the surface and to safety. So I don't think that Jesus reached out a perfectly dry hand and raised Peter from the deep with his pinky. I think that when Jesus said, "Why did you doubt?" they both were soaking wet and breathing heavy, and Peter's eyes were as big as his face. And that's the kind of Savior we really need. Not the Sunday school picture kind that seems to be above it all, but one who, when we are beginning to sink, will dive in after us in order to bring us to safety. I often wonder what it would take to get me to spring into action from my comfy seat in the exit row and throw away an airplane door. And while I don't let myself think about it too much, I know that it would take a real emergency. And by the way, lest you worry, some crazy person just can't open an airplane door at 40,000 feet because the cabin is pressurized. For me to open that door, something would have to be really wrong. We don't have to think about it. But the airplane equivalent of drowning is crashing. And so I never thought that the miracle in today's gospel was Jesus walking on the water, but Jesus' willingness to dive in and save Peter. That will be the only thing that makes it work in real life for you. You really don't need a Savior who can walk on water. But you do need a Savior who is with us in the storms of life. In those times when you realize that the tasks you are facing look impossible and you are too limited to carry them out, you can feel Jesus reaching out his hands to catch you and bring you calm and an unexplainable peace in the midst of the struggle. God does not demand that you throw away a perfectly good airplane door or step out of a boat to prove your faith. But like Peter, you can step forward and always know that you'll have what it takes so long as you are walking toward Jesus, whose hand is always held out in invitation. But not only that, stretched out to grasp you, lest you should fall. So, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. Feel free to move about the cabin. Feel free to move about your world, knowing that Jesus will give you whatever it takes to face anything that comes your way.